welcome to this week's Sunday Girl. My guest this week needs very little introduction. She is an angel channeler, an artist, and an author.
Good for you. You got it all
I remembered them all. A woman of many talents, Victoria Mary Clarke. Welcome and thank you. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for coming along, and we've had to come indoors because there's a hurricane outdoors, so we do have the ambient noise of a beautiful restaurant and lots of happy people behind us. Well, listen, we have so much to talk about, so just very quickly, I'm just going to ask you to introduce yourself to everyone out there.
Okay, I'm Victoria. As Orla has said, I am a writer and I'm also an angel channeler. So that means I talk to angels and they talk back, and I think that's the important part, is they actually talk back. And they sometimes appear to me visually. So I've got about 50 different angels that I've painted, and they're all different. And so that's what I do. I channel angels. They give me messages, they give me information and guidance, and I share that with people on videos, and I'm doing a book of it. And
Okay, now let's go back to the beginning. So when did this start? When did you first start channeling angels?
Okay, I'm gonna kind of jump to when I started doing it seriously, because I think it's something I learned to do probably in the mid-90s.
Okay.
And I learned it, like I used to learn a lot of different things. Like I learned hypnotherapy, I learned Reiki. I was interested in all this stuff, so I kind of dabbled.
Okay.
And it wasn't until the early 2000s that I began to actually use it, because I think you can learn stuff and not use it.
Yes.
And that's
you can be aware of it, you can read about it, but you actually don't do anything with it.
It's like reading about meditation and going, I know all about that.
But I don't actually do it.
Do you do yoga?
Like I read about Pilates.
Yes, think about it.
I look at the videos.
Yeah. So I only used it because I was actually desperate, and I think that's what does happen to people, is that when they get really desperate, they start looking for the stuff that they might already have known about, but they start actually using it.
Okay.
And I was feeling as though my life had absolutely no point, no purpose. I felt like a bit of a failure. I felt like I hadn't achieved anything. And I was feeling very middle-aged. I was in my 30s. I was feeling really middle-aged, and I was actually totally broke, and I was living in a little bedsit, and it was very grim. Like my prospects seemed very grim. And I just thought, well, I can't even be bothered to kill myself. That was how bad I felt. Couldn't be bothered. It was too much like hard work.
It's very hard to believe that now when I meet this positive, bubbly, out there lady. You know what I mean? That you felt like that almost 20 years ago. Yeah. When you should have been, like feeling, top notch, out there partying every night.
That's the thing. We don't necessarily feel good on the inside just because we're young or because we're even good looking or whatever. It doesn't actually change how you feel on the inside. So I started to ask. I asked the simple question: is there anything up there? And if you're up there, can you help me? And it started talking to me straight away. It just was like, yes. We're here, we've been waiting, and we're glad you finally made contact, and yes, we want to help you, and we actually want to help you to help other people as well. Okay. And I would ask for guidance every day, and they would tell me what to do. So they would tell me what to do every day, and they would tell me also how to think. So they re-educated me on my attitude and my beliefs.
Okay.
I think that was it's the sort of thing you probably get if you went to life coaching. And you find out, I've always believed that success only comes to people who work really, really hard or who are born into it, or something like that. That you might have a limiting belief about what you can achieve, or maybe you think that you've got past a certain age and that it's all over and you're over the hill, and we all feel that, and that you can't achieve anything new, and that you're going to be stuck with the same job or the same career path forever.
And when you say you you listen to the angels and they give you guidance. In what form that, people looking at us now, in what form does that take?
Okay, the way it was coming to me was on paper. So they would say, get a pen, get a piece of paper, write down what you want to know, and we will dictate the answer. So they dictated the answers, and I would write them down as though somebody was just like,
putting it in,
like through a microphone into my head. So I'd write it down, and then at the end I would look at it and go, oh, okay, wow. So it was always a surprise to me because I didn't know what the end of a sentence was going to be.
And were you in a meditative state when this would happen?
No, not remotely. I think that's important as well, is that I wasn't in a meditative state. I was in a very annoyed kind of state. I was in a very apathetic, annoyed kind of, that like almost a teenage state where you're just like, oh, you can't be bothered. You've given up. You're thinking very negatively about everything. No appreciation. No gratitude. They talk about gratitude.
Now it's a big word in the last 5 years.
And gratitude journals and how important that is. But I didn't have any gratitude for anything at that point. So I don't think you need to have any of that stuff. You just need to want to do it, and you just need to be willing to listen, willing to ask the questions.
Okay. So you started looking, you started listening, and then they started channeling through you.
Yes.
And literally this came in the form of writing down.
Yeah.
And when did you then, we're in a very busy restaurant here, guys. We were going to film outside, but there was a hurricane, so we're now inside, so forgive the background noise. So I'll just ask that again.
Yeah.
So you then started looking, you started listening, they started talking to you, and that came in the form of writing.
Yeah.
So when did the progression come to art?
That took quite a long time, and I think what happened is, as I got familiar with writing their messages, I then was able to speak the messages.
Okay.
So I became able to channel with my eyes open for groups of people.
Okay.
So they could use my body and my voice to talk to other people, which was amazing. Because you're talking and it's not really you.
Yeah. Okay. So it's you're channeling through you.
Yeah. A bit like, have you heard of Abraham Hicks?
I have, of course. Yeah.
Or The Secret. I mean, I think everyone's heard of The Secret. So that kind of thing where you're tapping into, I suppose, the universal life force or the source, or you could call it God if you want to, but God is a kind of word that not everyone likes.
Well, I think it's a word that can alienate people.
Yes, it can trigger people already.
Yeah, it can. Yes, it can. Where I think that it's...
And I never use it myself.
That's why we use the word energy so very often in that...
Universe.
Or universe, yes. In that it looks like... Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's a word that it doesn't alienate people, and it's something yet we all relate to because, God essentially is the universe, nature, is energy.
Like, I would have seen God as a bit like Santa Claus, like some old bloke with a beard.
Yes, I think we all did. and that's what I want to talk about as well, is that when I am looking at your angels, our traditional view of angels, they were in white dresses, kind of young, pretty girls, golden curls. They almost look like cupids, actually.
Chubby kind of little,
and had trumpets and that kind of thing. Where your angels are full of colour, and I have to tell you, style as well. Your angels have style, Victoria.
I think this one looks like Susie Bick.
Okay.
Susie from the Vampire Life. They look how I might like to look. They're all different. They all have different outfits. And that happened only a couple of years ago, like 3 years ago. I had been writing for a long time, and then it was actually Johnny Depp who inspired this. So he showed me his paintings, and he does these incredible paintings. And I was just inspired to try it. I thought, I'm going to give that a go. I got a canvas and I got some paints and I started.
So inspired by Johnny Depp, you are now producing.
Because I realized that he's not trained. He's an actor, but he can also play guitar and he writes.
Yeah.
And I think if you start to open that channel of creativity, if you start writing music or playing music, if you start drawing, you'll start to know that you'll start to expand your creativity into other areas.
But see, you're a creative person, and I think you use a very interesting word there, trained.
Yeah.
You do not have to be trained in creativity.
I'm not trained at all.
To, as you said, to paint, to design, to draw, to create
music. But you do have to get out of your own way. That's the main thing.
And you do have to be committed to your craft. I think that's very important as well.
I don't know. I don't think that's really it. I think it's just being willing to experiment and get out of the way and don't judge.
Okay.
Because I would have thought, well, I'm not an artist. I'm not trained. I can't even draw properly. You know, I wouldn't be able to draw accurately. I'm willing to give it a go.
But you have a very distinctive style.
I do, but I didn't know I had. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't. This only came out when I did it. You know, it wasn't a plan.
How many would you produce a week?
So I've done more than 50. I might have done about 60 of them now.
Okay.
And
Okay.
at some point I began turning them into other objects. So I thought, not everyone wants to carry a painting around with them all day.
There you go. You never know. Don't rule it out.
But you could carry a piece of jewelry. Like, so I could get the same angel onto a piece of jewelry, and you could wear it.
So you've now taken your art and you have literally, you've put
I
it
made
onto
wearables,
cashmere scarves.
wearables.
You've made wearable art. You
Yeah.
have the pendants.
Yeah.
And
I
you
got
have
a beanie
small
hat. I got a cardigan. I mean, everything I can think of. I've put angels on it.
And tell me, where can somebody buy these? Where can somebody buy the art first?
Well,
and
everything
foremost?
is on victoriamaryclarkeangels.com.
Okay,
on the
we'll be
website.
sharing that at the
Everything's
end.
there.
Okay.
Yeah. And I suppose the point of wearing something like this is that it reminds you to think positively, and it reminds you that there's something looking after you and something giving you a hug.
And they're also beautiful.
And they're beautiful,
Yeah.
and they're soft, and they're...
And they're beautiful.
Yeah.
They are. But I know coming up, you have an angel channeling at the Hill of Tara.
Yes.
When is that happening?
So that is on the 28th of January, which is a Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock. And it's not an outdoor event, in case you're terrified. 'Cause it's
Yeah,
an
I was about to
indoor
say,
event.
how do you cope with this? How do you cope with this?
We actually have a really, really cozy little venue there at the Hill of Tara called the Open Studio, Tara Open Studio. And what we do is we learn how to access this energy, because it's like plugging into electricity. It's like plugging into the source, and access it and use it in your own life. Because I think that's really important, is teaching people to take it, feel it, get in touch with it, but then actually put it into their own relationships and their own career and their own whatever they want to do, their own health, whatever they want to use it for.
And tell me, you also have a series
There's
coming
a series. It's coming up in Dublin, starting in February, at the beginning of February. So it'll be every Friday evening, and that will be more about manifesting things in your life. Because I find that really excites me, is what can I manifest? And I've had these ideas of things for years that I really have always wanted, and they've started to come true.
Okay.
You know, like I'm making a film. I've worked on like just stuff.
On everything you said to me there, I mean, you're making a film, you're writing another book. Bella Freud designed your wedding dress.
Yeah,
you know.
And I even got to walk on a red carpet with Johnny Depp and do speeches on stage with him. And it was just felt like a dream. It felt like Cinderella. It felt like a dream come true, this whole thing.
Okay.
So my life has become quite magical. Like things have started to just flow.
To happen.
My husband Shane became really, really ill recently, but I think it's helped me to deal with those, so I don't get totally swept away by them, so I can still have a life. You know, even with challenges. I think we're always going to have challenges. Aren't we?
Look, I mean, that's what.
I mean, even
it's
if
part
you're
of
having a
life.
great time.
You don't know good days
Yeah.
unless you have other days.
Yeah.
That's the way life
But
goes.
also,
you know?
you might use a way to really access that source energy when you need it, when there's trouble
when there is
as well.
times of trouble.
So it's like I don't know, a solid foundation.
And again, that's bookable through your website.
Yeah.
And that is starting the beginning of February, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Victoria, in this busy restaurant, against the backdrop of the wind, coffee machines, and a lovely buzzy atmosphere here in the Devlin Hotel with the coffee maker. Thank you for being
thank you.
my guest on Sunday Girl. And I know everyone is really going to love and get a huge amount out of this interview.
Thanks, Orla.
You're so
and thank you for
welcome.
having me.
Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.